Howdy, I'm Angus. Welcome to my garage this time. Today I'm going to show you how I made these break room tables for a client. It's going to be a two-part video. Part one, I'm going to show you the physical construction of the tables. Part two, I'm going to show you a bit of the personalization process that went into it. Since this is going to be kind of a long journey, let's get started. This particular client happens to be a friend who requested I make 4 tables out of reclaimed lumber for his company's break room. Like all reclaimed lumber projects, this one starts with milling up the wood to make it square and planing it to make it flat. To lay out the tables, I drew a 5-foot circle on the floor and then laid out the planks to make sure the circle was completely covered. These chalk marks will help align the boards during the glue up. I needed to glue some of these boards end to end, and the idea I had was pocket holes. I know some people don't like them, but I don't have clamps long enough for this. The real strength is going to come from the parallel edge grain joints, so I just have to make sure I don't have 2 of these joined boards directly next to each other. And if you've got someone looking underneath your table to judge your joinery, kick them out. You don't want that kind of person under your roof. And here's that glue up money shot. If you like smearing glue around with your fingers, click like on this video. If you keep screws in your mouth, click subscribe. I need to make sure these planks are aligned when I glue them together. It would be faster to glue the whole width of the table all at once, but if they're misaligned, I'm not sure there's enough thickness in the wood to shave it down to correct it. So as a result, I glued them up 1 or 2 joints at a time. Here I'm just checking that the glued up mess will cover the circle on the floor. Then I use this piece of wood as a compass to find the center point. Let's all watch me struggle, try to move this thing around myself. I made the cheapest circle cutting jig that I can with a scrap of masonite and measured what will be the final radius of the table. I drilled a hole for a nail the jig can rotate around, and from there marked where the router will be attached. To make it a custom fit, I used the base plate of my router itself to mark and drill the screw holes. And finally, 1 big hole in the center for the router bit to fit through. Even though my impetus was to be as cheap as possible, I still wanted to streamline the shape so it looks good on YouTube. Speaking of which, check out my previous videos where I built a computer desk out of stuff I had laying around. The way jigs like this work is to move the router around a fixed pivot point. You just make a series of shallow cuts with a straight bit to start. After that, you can use a jigsaw to cut out the circle and remove the excess. Hopefully you left a little bit extra that you can trim off with a flush trim bit in a router. Hey, Nora. Like I said, we'll just clean up that lip with the flush trim bit. And now for the part that you all clicked on this video for, sanding all the tables in real time. Just kidding. You know what they say, reclaimed wood, reclaimed problems. Okay, maybe nobody said that until now, but it should be a thing. I should have mentioned these 2x4s will make up the base and legs. I set my angle gauge to 10 degrees, but you can change that angle to taste. I'm just going to cut that 10-degree angle into the end and start cutting a bunch of legs to length. I'll need 16 in total, plus 16 horizontal support pieces. I've mentioned before how I don't like the rounded corners on 2x4 lumber, so I'll just remove that with the table saw. I'm just laying out here where I want the half-lap joints to line up. You can use one of the other boards to measure the width of the joint to make sure it fits exactly. To make this joint, I want to cut exactly halfway through these legs. An easy way to ensure your blade is at the right height is to make a test cut, then flip it over. Then cut from the other side. The 2 cuts should line up perfectly. You're going to want to do all of these test cuts with some scraps that are the same thickness. And just to be sure, I cut a small rabbet on the ends of 2 scraps to test that they fit the way I want. I started by cutting the ends of the joint first to get the correct width and to make sure I didn't go over the line when I hog out all this material in the middle. I wanted to show that you don't need a dado stack to do this next step. You can hog this out in small bites with a regular table saw blade, but let's see how long that takes. It took me 2 minutes and 40 seconds to cut this one part. Keep in mind I have to do this twice for each joint, 8 joints per table and 4 tables, so I have to do this 64 times. With this blade, just cutting the half laps would take me 10,240 seconds, or 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 40 seconds. That's not even counting measuring, marking, and fine-tuning the fit. That leaves me no time to get the sawdust out of my beard. I had to cut a notch for the 2 halves to fit because I designed this to ship flat. I just used another piece of scrap to get the width exactly right, then drilled pocket holes to hold the 2 components together. One long screw recessed in from the bottom will hold these 2 braces together. I'm adding leveling feet to the bottom of the legs. I have to pre-drill a hole, then drive in these threaded inserts first. The feet will just screw into those. For a little bit of added strength and to make sure I align the parts right every time, I use these cutoffs to make buttresses. They'll just attach to the bottom with a dab of glue and some fix this build that nails. I marked where I want to put the fasteners that attach the top to the base. These figure 8 fasteners will allow for seasonal wood movement. You recess them into the base with a Forstner bit and screw them into place. Finally, you attach the base to the tabletop by driving in screws from underneath. With a few adjustments of those feet, I can make sure it sits level on the ground, and just like that, it's a table. Now at this point, you could sand the tables, slap some finish on these bad boys, and call it a day. But in my next video, I'm going to show you how I took these to the next level without the use of a CNC. In the meantime, make sure you click all those YouTube buttons and have a great day being crafty.